up. This is a lot of things.
You do? Is John doing this as well?
Yeah, John will come in.
Great.
Maybe he'll come in when you're here, probably.
Yeah.
And chat with him.
The lights are very bright, aren't they?
know.
Yeah, rolling.
Okay. You roll? When you first met John, you were quite a whippersnapper. Remember that?
What's a whippersnapper? You mean
a young lad?
a young teenage kid? Yeah, I was 17.
How did the meeting come about?
Well, I heard that he was looking for a guitarist, so I applied for the job.
Really?
And much to my surprise, I got it. Because I was still kind of learning at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a lot of other good guitarists around, but he chose me.
Was it your first,
It's my first major public professional engagement, yeah. Yeah, it was the first sort of, that was when I started playing professionally, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was 17 at the time.
I always wonder what do your parents think about that?
Oh, they loved it, yeah, they still do.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, they'd love to come on the road too.
They didn't worry about, the falling into the blues and, the whole, the professional music scene seems to be...
No, they always sort of encouraged me to be a professional musician because I think they realised I wasn't very good at anything else.
No, being honest.
So,
How did...
no, they always gave me a lot of encouragement, and they enjoy music too. They enjoy it a lot.
Mm-hmm. What is it about John's, presence that is such a magnet for so many talented musicians? I mean, you ever...
Well, I think there's John Mayall and Alexis Corner were the two sort of people in England that kind of started the whole blues rock and roll revival in the early 60s.
Mm-hmm.
In those days in London there used to be a lot of blues clubs,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of American black musicians used to go over to England and play.
Mm-hmm.
And if you wanted to play R&B, John Mayall was the person to play with. There were a few other bands too, but John Mayall was the most well known.
Hang on a second. Stop rolling.
Oh,
So that, and what, as I said, there was something, what did you learn playing with John originally? But was there a certain, something that?
No, I mean, ever since I started to play guitar, I listened to rock and roll and rhythm and blues, and it was really like a natural progression for me. But what I was trying to say was that when I first joined John, I was still very much a beginner, But after I'd played with him for sort of 3 or 4 years, I developed my own style, which most other guitarists that have ever played with him have done too.
Well, there's a real sense of, music in an egoless sense, I think, sometimes. And if I think of John's music, I think of more of a community, more of a sharing thing.
Yeah, well, you've got to be very sympathetic to each other and just play naturally, I mean, you mustn't try and force it, or there's nothing sort of extra musical about playing the blues. You just play it the way you feel it, really, and play it very spontaneously. And it's really just the chemistry between the different musicians that are playing at the time, This particular lineup is rather unique because we've all been in the Bluesbreakers before, but not all at exactly the same time. So, in a way, it's a new group, really.
How did this come about?
A new old group.
How did this
A new group of old musicians.
old timers?
Yeah.
You must be pushing your
Yeah,
30s.
yeah. This is I think perhaps all our careers need reviving a little bit. So we've all got together to play.
You had a band for a short while with Jack Bruce?
Yeah, I played with him for it wasn't for very long. It was for a European tour in 1975.
How was
We
it?
never did it. It was great, actually. It was good. I enjoyed playing with him.
Jack's another one who's certainly attractive. Worked with him.
Well, yeah, he's such a good musician, yeah.
An instructional type of thing.
Mm.
How that sense of community and sharing, have you found that, is that a kind of a continuum in music, have you found, or does it?
I find that it's continued, yeah, throughout my musical career.
Did you find that with the Stones particularly? Was that
Yeah,
sense?
I mean, the Rolling Stones and John Mayall, they all used to play in the same clubs, and do the same sort of type of tours in England before, you know, they became well known. They used to play at the Marquee and another place called Eel Pie Island. And there used to be a club called the Flamingo in London where John used to play. And as a matter of fact, I think, you know, even before the Rolling Stones were formed, I think Mick Jagger used to get up and sing with John Mayall and Alexis Corner and a couple of other people.
Anyone who was playing music.
Yeah.
That was a real small, you know, I know Ian Stewart's still, you know, been around there for the whole beginning. It's sort of an interesting group of musicians who've gone on.
Yeah, and they're all from the same sort of era, really, you know.
Well, I know at the time when, you know, in 1969, it was a surprise to a lot of people when you sort of came from the blue to this United States, not knowing to Americans.
When I did what?
When you joined up with the Stones, it kind of came as a surprise to a lot of people. But then I guess considering the group, the scene there.
Well, I think it came as a shock that Brian Jones died and had to be replaced. You know.
Yeah.
You mean it was a surprise that I joined them?
That you joined them? Yes. You know. Did that come as a surprise to you?
Well, I think it would have been a surprise. Whoever it was who would have joined, don't you? I mean, you kind of get used to a sort of legendary, famous group like that always being exactly the same. You know, you don't think of people leaving or dropping out, and so I guess I hope they were pleasantly surprised anyway.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure they were. So again, I just got to get the obligatory. What do you have? Did you get a chance to see the tapes of the music on this tour, with the mega tour of the States?
I played with them.
Where?
In Kansas City.
You did?
Yeah.
How was that?
It was fun.
Really?
Yeah, it was really good. It was about the almost at the end of their tour. They did a couple more shows after Kansas City, and that was the end. And it was great fun. Yeah.
That's great. Was there a difference in musical cues? Think they're getting better?
Well, the whole show was much longer than I was used to, and there was a lot of new songs that I didn't know, but I sort of, you know, played for about 2.5 hours, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I had never seen, you know, I have to say my first time I'd ever seen the Stones was 3 or 4 months ago. I was
Really?
Yeah.
On the last
Candlestick
tour,
Park,
yeah.
and luckily we were filming it, so we were down in the, you know, I was able to see it, not those little peanuts. But it was you know, it was interesting. I feel all the fuss was about all this time.
Yeah.
How does how did the reunion come about? This whole little tour.
Well, you better ask John.
Really?
Yeah.
You just got a phone call. Cut. Those James things.
Yeah.
Roll it. We
Rolling,
just got.
yes, what?
Go like this.
I'll tell you what I've probably better do is use my hat.
Let me fix it for you. Okay.
That's very nice, yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
We've just gotten to the point in talking to Nick where I asked, how did this whole reunion come about? And he threw the ball.
Telephone calls.
Yeah, it's always done with telephone calls.
What prompted you to say, let's get together and...
Well, it's been talked about a lot, but I went round to his house and they were just talking about how good it would be to do that as a change from, you know, what we all do in our spare time, professionally. I don't know. It was just an idea, and around about the same time Mick called me up from London, and so it just fell into place really. Just a case of trying to get people interested and trying to get some kind of tour set up so that when the next telephone call would come about, I'd have some proposition, you know.
How so far has it been? How the feelings seem, you know?
Oh, I think that it's been great. We've done...
He first met you, and I'm kind of curious what your first impressions when you first met Mick, when you first wandered in, that whole... Do you remember that moment?
Wandered in?
Or how did that all come in? How did you guys meet?
Well, it was sort of an accident,
I couldn't remember properly,
It was
so you answer
Welling
that one.
Garden City, I think it was.
Oh, that was when I first played with you, yeah.
Yeah,
but
because
it was
Clapton
2 years
didn't
later
show
when
up.
I joined, wasn't
I know.
it? Yeah.
But there was
I
another
didn't tell
group
him
you were
that
in
story.
called the Gods.
Yeah.
So we did a college a bit later. I mean, that was the first meeting when you stood in for Clapton.
That's... No,
Because he didn't show up.
he didn't show up. I just happened to be in the audience.
Because he lived there. You see,
I lived
he lived
there.
in Hatfield.
He was playing at at this place, and I was in the
It was a
audience.
bloody town hall or something, but we were one short. Clapton, he didn't let us know he wasn't going to come that night.
He didn't show up, so
So,
I sat there and
me,
listened to the first set without a guitarist, and I thought, well, it
might help, you know.
it might help, a little bit of blues guitar
So
playing.
he came to me, between the first and second set and said, well,
I said-
I know the tunes, do you want to let me play?
Said, help.
So I said, I thought to myself, well, I don't know. At that time, I guess he looked rather young but very determined, like he could do it. I was well, nothing to lose.
That's
it's
why I
just
had
a
my
gig,
hair
you know.
cut, you see.
Just a gig, and it was quite amazing. Because his only, testimonial was, well, I've been to the Flamingo a lot, and I've seen what you do, and I know the numbers.
I was telling them about the
tested him, I said,
Flamingo. Yeah.
well, you know this one? Oh yeah, it goes like this, blah blah blah. So he knew all the tunes.
I didn't have a guitar with me, but Eric Clapton's guitar was there, but he wasn't there, you see.
So he did it instead. No, I didn't think to take his number down or anything. So, he was lost.
Why didn't you call? I don't understand. This got paid.
Well, it wasn't that kind of thing.
It wasn't that kind of thing, no.
It was, he was at the gig, and we didn't have a.
I think I was
Clapton
only
or so.
16 when.
Yeah, he was only 16.
15 or 16 when I did that gig.
He was underage. He wouldn't let you in any clubs.
No,
Well,
it
it
wasn't the
wasn't a
license.
club, it was a college, wasn't it,
Yeah.
or something? Yeah.
Oh, I see. That's funny.
But that's how it was. And then about a year later, I think this is when Peter Green was in the band. Then he was in another group called the Gods, and I remembered then. You see, and again didn't think.
Did
to
I
take his
call you or did you
telephone
call me? I can't remember.
Well, you called me after I put the ad in the Melody Maker.
Oh, that's right.
I see.
Yeah.
I put an ad in the paper. Guitarist needed to replace Peter Green, and he answered, and then it was, and I didn't bother auditioning anybody else. I just over the phone and said, "God, I've been trying to get, I knew where you were all this time." You see.
And I think the very next day we did a gig.
Yeah.
And
the next week we did
and
an album.
It was
in 7
like
hours, Crusade album.
Yeah.
And the rest.
Next, it was like next one. It was like, well, we don't know that one. Never mind, that's good enough. And we did the whole album in 10 hours.
And the rest.
Recorded and mixed in 7 hours.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
The rest is history.
And the rest is history. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A bit of that.
Well, yeah, there's must have been, and I'm sure still is, a very kind of warm. I don't know how warm it is, but it's a community of blues musicians in Britain, especially. I don't know how that would compare to the United States. So
Well, here we've got to take two different things because I live here and he lives there. You see, so
But I was explaining to them earlier that we all sort of come from. We all sort of developed at the same kind of time in the early 60s.
Yeah.
When there was.
that's the
When all there was in London was sort of blues clubs and quite a lot of blues bands.
When did you both first come to the United States, and kind of when you finally actually went to the
First tour?
yeah, it was January '68.
68, yeah.
Was that
January the 6th, I think it was.
did the U.S. crack up to what you thought it was going to be? Or?
Oh, it was magic.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, even though I lost my bags on the first day. We stayed at the Hotel Earl, shared rooms with cockroaches. And,
In Washington Square, New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Greenwich Village. We were there at the Cafe A Go-Go for 2 weeks, and then we did one at the Grande Ballroom in Detroit, and then came to the Whiskey A Go-Go. So that was the beginning of February. And we did, Elmer booked us for 3 nights, and they all sold out. And then we did an extra 4, and then went to San Francisco, and it was Jimi Hendrix,
Albert King and us.
King and us, yeah.
At the Fillmore, the old Fillmore West.
And then we went back home, and I thought, oh, I'm coming back. This is where I want to live.
After seeing Jimi Hendrix, I would
No.
say.
Jimi Hendrix was in England long before it.
That's true.
He was busting
Yeah,
out there, but no,
yeah.
just America. So I moved out there straight away. So I've been here ever since.
Well, did you feel there's something in American culture that makes
Yeah, music.
blues- makes-
American music.
I always said that's probably the Americans' only valid contribution to the world is probably music. It's a nice thing to do.
And good food and
I wouldn't say it's just
24-hour
music.
everything.
I think that's Los Angeles, actually. We should
yeah.
focus it down. But I don't know. I
That's
just
the finest scenery. I always go camping in Arizona, and it just America's great.
Well, I just see, though, looking, being students of the blues and that, that whatever the blues is, and then finally coming to the United States and actually seeing Memphis and seeing Chicago and seeing Highway 6, just all those things that have been talked about. I can't help it. It affected. I wonder if it did change anything.
Is that what you did?
Oh yeah, I was born a sharecropper's son. Actually, no, it doesn't.
No, where did you come?
No, I'm born in Los Angeles, New Jersey.
But then you went to Chicago and all these places?
I've been to Chicago. I haven't tracked down the blues.
Oh.
I'm just saying that.
Oh, I thought you were talking about you.
No, I'm posing a question, that just wondering if that made the United States.
Well, not to me really, no,
Really?
because I mean, I've always had the music, and I mean that's. on
Yeah,
record, that's-
he's always had the it made an impression on me, I think, when I first came to America and I actually saw people like Junior Wells and Buddy Guy and Albert King,
and Otis
and B.B.
Rush and
King.
sitting in with all these people.
Yeah, I mean,
It
actually
was
going
great.
to Chicago and going to the South Side and playing in some clubs, which we used to do, didn't we?
Yeah.
I mean, that was, like first-hand experience of playing with sort of people that we'd always admired
Well, just that feeling.
and that we'd learned from, and been influenced by.
Music is communication, not musicians. Musicians
Yeah.
chop cutting each other or anything else. Where it's much more of it's just that thing out there that you try to make sense of every night. I don't know. I'm just making a statement about music as it affects me. I don't know.
Well,
You live it, but you don't play it a lot. You can go to dinner. I mean, if you really, I don't.
Thanks.
You're hungry.
Thank
so
you.
am I. How long have I got?
About 10, 15 minutes.
10 minutes. 10 minutes.
I mean, I don't mean, Thank you very
Just
much.
gonna-
It's all yours, John.
Yeah.
Can we switch around real
Where are you going
fast?
to dinner?
John.
I'm just going back to that hotel.
Right. Okay.
Can we switch around?
Oh yeah, if you really like to.
No. It's a broadcast release. It's a release form. Do you want to look at it? Okay, you got it. Well, we were at the Museum of Rock Art today.
Where's that?
Yeah, it's on the corner of, in fact, I'll give you Paul's card right now. Paul, this is on videotape, so you can see I did it. It's the guy who runs it. He has and he showed me the Star Art book with some of your work.
The Star Art, yes.
Which really impressed me. I was
Yeah.
first place I noticed as an advertising copywriter, you actually did some commercial work and
Yeah.
a lot of different varied styles.
Yeah. Well, the music came later, you see.
Really?
Yeah.
You started?
When I was 30.
Really? You were starting art? You started?
Yeah, up to the age of 30, that's what I did for a living. I was graphic design. I was trained at art school and everything. So when I'd always played music, but when I was 30, it just happened to be that way that the blues started coming in. You see, so I switched over.
Do you still take it and still paint and work on it?
Well, since my house burnt down with everything in it, obviously you start having to rebuild everything and doing. First of all, building instruments and furniture, and when you start at the beginning again. So because of that Star Art book, it was lucky that they photographed, all my work. And the book's got 48 pages in the section on me, but in addition to that, Debbie Cheshire photographed a whole bunch more, so they are on negative, so thanks to that, otherwise, everything would have been lost, there wouldn't have been any record of it. Music, I've got my albums, and odd private tapes keep filtering back over the years from friends, say, I have this tape, So all that part of it is, I won't say replaceable, but at least there is a record of it.
Well, I'm interested in a musical artist and an artist, and the difference. Did you find much in common?
Not really, if you in all fields you're forever learning. You're never that good, but you keep trying. And art is a part of me, and the music's part of me, and those things always have been. So they're just parts of vehicles for you to express yourself through.
I noticed that some of the drawings from very EC Comics, Weird Tales. You did a couple of done
Oh
before?
yes, with the knives in the neck and all that stuff. Yeah, that was when I was about 13, 14.
Mhm.
So I used to get Weird Tales magazine and started doing all those things.
What's impressive is the difference in a lot of them. It's yeah, I have to say.
Well, I'm
it's schizophrenic
strange.
if you
I'm
have-
strange.
No, it's I mean it's
Yeah.
like 10 different people doing it. Some of it looks like Leroy Neiman. I mean, those colors.
Yeah, I loved his work.
And then others, it's quite impressive. You know, it's
Yeah, there's carving and these are my just
Oh, sure.
hold this here. You don't have to switch off because I'll be right.
See that?
These are new bits of oops. I think that's mixed coffee. But these are the newest
Hold on a second. It's just
pieces.
It's getting a good shot. John, you direct the action.
Pardon?
There's another John.
That's good, yeah.
But I mean, this is the harp case. So we've got all the keys in there.
That's beautiful.
And you set that up on the top of the piano, so I get to see what they all are,
Mhm.
and then they can see that.
You see your name. You say, oh,
Yeah.
John Mayall.
Close it up.
Beautiful.
And then that goes over the shoulder there, see? So that's
Ooh.
one piece of baggage. Next item here, this little Jessie, this is for a harness that I built to, to play piano or guitar and harp at the same time. The box came later because I had so much trouble designing and carving the thing that goes on my chest. I didn't want it to get broken, so I wanted to make a nice box for it. So it's in several pieces. I always feel this is somewhat like a James Bond thing, where they open these things and assemble these bits. That's the lead. This is the part that holds it all together. You'll be seeing this tonight, but
No, this is great.
so no matter what shape I get in, like if you get fat or thin, it's built to the rib cage, you see. Whereas the other ones I designed before went over the shoulders and they got rather smelly under the armpits and all that. A bit distasteful. So that goes there. This holds the harmonicas. Goes on there. Lead obviously through there, connects up there. So
That's wonderful.
both hands free
That's
and
great.
off you go.
That's great.
So
Blues out, as they would say.
blues out.
You've been. Would you
Sure.
consider yourself retired the last few years, or?
No, I'm on the road all the time.
Really?
Yeah, keep knocking out albums, and because of the recession, people who owned record companies or belonged to them, they all sort of disintegrated. But no, I'm on the road all the time. Maybe 3 tours a year. Last year we did 3 months in Australia, which is where I'm going on Monday.
Ah.
And then in the summer I went to Memphis and did a new album with Don Nix producing it. And that band was the Memphis Bluesbreakers, all guys from Memphis. And we went to Italy and did a 4-week tour there. Came back and then started putting this team together around the original Bluesbreakers. And that's it. Then on Monday we're off to Australia for 3 weeks. And there's been really so much interest that, obviously we're going to do a lot more of this. But when we get back, obviously, John's involved with Fleetwood Mac and he has to be around and finish off recording and then go on the road with them. So everybody's schedule has to be worked around, which is not too difficult.
No.
So, certainly, quite encouraging to see how people have reacted to the reunion of the Bluesbreakers.
That's been, I guess, totally positive.
Yeah, it's lovely. So everything's sold out tonight, and Australia's sold out. So obviously, when that situation happens, you've got plenty of stuff going on.
You must be very, I would think you'd be very proud of just the people you've worked with and how the successes they've made in your
Oh yeah,
contribution.
absolutely. It's it's a great family. really. And you never know where you're going to run into them.
Is there any things you look back on and you really, you're sort of your proudest moments in that respect?
No, not really, because I just love life, and I always have a good time, and I'm always proud of what I do, and just have a good time and make music, be creative in every other field I can do it, No, life is just great.
How did you first, again, I'm going through, about Mick, but after the Yardbirds, did you know Eric Clapton way back when, before the, John, are we going to pick that up? Should I get the shotgun?
Mom's about as good as you can do.
Okay. Well, it sounds like.
We're over here, yes.
Oh, well, this is like that backstage.
So I'm gonna need it.
But how did you and Eric first meet?
Eric?
Yeah.
Just by chance, really. I mean, London was really seething with embryonic blues bands, and so we were all travelling the same motorways and same transport cafes and so forth. And I ran into him because we were all doubling and playing at the same clubs, and he was with the Yardbirds then. So that's where I first heard him. And then I seriously heard him on the B-side of that Yardbirds single, For Your Love, and it was, I forget the other side, but it was just a guitar feature. So very quickly after that, that Yardbirds single became a #1 single, which is exactly what Eric didn't want to have anything to do with, charts and all that. So he left, he didn't want to have any of that hit parade stuff. So he left and he joined me.
Are all the rumors of him locking himself up and doing nothing but playing the guitar for a year, just that?
I have no idea. You'd have to ask him about that. Obviously, I never saw it, because if he locked himself up for a year, was it within the band?
You haven't heard about that?
No, that's just occasionally he wouldn't show up. But it was, occasionally also very difficult, we were all travelling up and down in the van. No, they're great old stories, but they're still happening today. You're still at the mercy of motors and things breaking down and planes being delayed. It's the same thing. It was just smaller scale, really, but everybody did it.
That was their whole philosophy from that, and I think that you're proof that there's another side to that, which is,
Well, I mean, that's their structure, and I guess that was... I know I've seen that happen a lot with bands, but mine aren't like that, you see, because there are no rigid set tunes. It's just the blues and rock and roll, and it's always very loose, and it's always really different every night. I hate to use the word jamming, because jamming is without discipline, so it's just playing, really, and the enjoyment of being a family that you're playing within this structure. It makes everything worthwhile. And if you pick the right people who are a family, they're the people that you'd most want to hang out with anyway, socially, which is not the case in a lot of bands who can't stand the sight of each other, but they're still doing it because of money or of whatever reason that they're trapped in that situation. And mine is just like for any musician who's ever worked with me, they always consider one of my tours a little bit crazy, in the sense that it's like a holiday. It's like a paid holiday. You just get up there and you play, and everybody loves it, and you make mistakes and you bounce off each other, and it's funny, and it's all these things, and you come off and probably celebrate for the next 2 or 3 hours, talking about stuff, waiting to get paid and all that.
Well, it's interesting, Mick coming from the Stones and John coming from Fleetwood Macs, and the insanities of those collective tours. I mean, it must be a wonderful... Yeah,
well, it's different for them in the sense that there's no roadies, no crew, there's no bodyguards, there's no all these hundreds of people who are involved there. When we go into Australia, there's only the actual 4 musicians and 2 girlfriends are going.
Why do you think
that's it? And then when we get to Australia, they will supply 3 roadies and the equipment and the hotels. They'll take care of those. So it's just it's nice. Australia is very nice now. It's the middle of their summer. So we escaped the cold, a good suntan for 3 weeks, and we got about 4 or 5 days off in 3 weeks. Just seven concerts, and then 1 day off, and then another 5, and then another 2 days off, that kind of thing.
Do you think that those bodyguards and that sense of the structure and the weight, the mammoth weight of a mega tour, gets in the way of the music, and is really all that
I
necessary?
really don't know. I've never been in one. You see,
Mhm.
I've only seen it. That's all.
But I'm sure you've.
It's different. I mean, from what I've observed, it is totally different. This is fine. You can mingle with the people. They're not going to hurt you. You can touch them, and they can touch you, autograph, and whatever. You're in amongst those bodies, and it's great. But if you start getting scared or paranoid about them, then there's a big wall that comes.
That's what I'm wondering. Is that
down? You see.
What starts that? And if that isn't
I don't know.
necessary to being talented.
It probably. I don't know. I think it's something I know nothing about.
I think of Eric Clapton, who was just.
But he'd be able to tell you about it.
Well, he doesn't. But he's someone who's never gone after it yet. He's probably a victim of it, and it seems in a way too bad, because someone who's a musician who obviously really is a musician. It's what I do. I do my work.
Uh-huh.
And yet he's a star.
Well, it's one of those endless things you see and talk about philosophically, but I mean, I don't. I say I'm working all the time, so
Yeah.
I have a good time, and make sure they do too.
Well,
So.
okay. That comes up with it. Well,
That's good.
that does
Food time.
John, thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Okay then.
Whoop.
Oops.
Let me
Yeah.
pop this off there. With these iron.
How does everyone fit to the show?
What questions?
Oh, it's about touring.
What's what he does?
I know it does that,
Yeah, I know. I probably overdo. Well, it's just that you just fish it. You don't know what's gonna like. What I like is when he started getting into his carvings and everything.
Oh, I thought the two shot when they were talking about Eric, that was great. He didn't show up.
I felt a little weird. I really dismissed Mick. I was like, well, okay, we're done with you now.
No, you did all right. That was the right thing to do. You wanted to go.
Well, no, I was just like, yeah, but I mean, I felt like I said, okay, we're through with you now.
No, it didn't come off that
Okay,
way.
because I felt like I was going to dismiss him. I mean, I did.
He said, now you can go eat. He was happy to hear that one.
God, I just hope the audio is good on these things. I know who I'm going to blame if it's not.
Oh, I wonder who.
Who, me?
Oh, me, Mr. Producer?
But that's when it's producer's responsibility to check on the production crew. A good producer
Always checks.
always checks to make sure that.
Doesn't let him fuck up and be stupid.
God. He was very nice. I was thinking, I was kind of scared.
Well, yeah, Mr.
We need this.
Shut up.
Oh, sorry. Huh. Little was clean up. I'm going at this rate since 6:30 this morning. I guess you guys probably got up pretty early yourself.
7 now.
5,
We're
right.
gonna get you back to your car till about 7:50, 7:20. We got a sort of pack here. Sort of, we really ran out of Randy here. I'm amazed we got all the tapes.
Good day.
You're rolling all this time, man.
What?
Anything in a club, you're just asking for trouble. That'd be real cool. I mean, I was kind of wandering at the end. I was burned out. Too many interviews.
In a row.
Well, Newman's a tough. I mean, Newman and Mayall are tough. Newman's a toughie. I mean, he's just a very sharp guy who'll either give you a great interview or will just say "fuck you." I love that line about what is it, Mr. Hitler? What did he say when he says filling out the release? Dear Mr.
Oh.
Hitler. Oh, this is great.
He was asking, you would have edited it as in, how did you feel when you met Hitler? And his answer would be, oh, I really enjoyed meeting him. He was
How did you feel when That is funny. He's a good guy. I like Randy Newman a lot.
yeah, he was really honest. He's the kind of burned out fellow, but he was really honest about it.
good. We hope we got it. You know, with Eric writing the audio. I don't know. You're rolling all this time.
Yeah.
I think you're getting a little carried away in this job.
Yeah.
So tonight's his first night, Mayall, playing here, and he's playing what? Oh, tonight, what? Or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, just 3 nights?